I had always hated camping, but I agreed to go with my boyfriend and his friends, hoping to impress him. It was a mistake. We drove to a remote spot in the mountains, where there was no cell service, no electricity, and no other people. We pitched our tents near a river and started a fire. The others seemed to enjoy the nature, but I was bored and uncomfortable. I wanted to go back to the city, but my boyfriend convinced me to stay. He said it would be romantic and that we would have fun. He kissed me, and I tried to forget my worries. That's when I saw it. A flash of light, coming from the other side of the river. It looked like a camera or a phone. Someone was watching us. I felt a chill down my spine, and I pointed it out to my boyfriend. He laughed and said it was probably just a reflection or a firefly. He told me not to be paranoid and to relax. He hugged me, and I tried to ignore it. But it didn't go away. It kept flashing every few seconds, like a signal. I told him I was scared and that we should leave. He got annoyed and said I was ruining the mood. He said there was nothing to be afraid of and that we were safe. He kissed me again, and I tried to pretend I was okay. But I wasn't. The next morning, we woke up to a horrifying sight. Our tents were slashed, our bags were ransacked, and our food was gone. There were footprints all over the ground, and blood on the rocks. And worst of all, there was a note pinned to a tree with a knife. It read, "I see you." We panicked and packed our things. We ran to the car and tried to start it. But it wouldn't budge. The battery was dead, and the tires were flat. Someone had sabotaged it. We were trapped. We screamed for help, but no one answered. We looked around, but no one was there. Except for the flash of light, still coming from the other side of the river. It was getting closer.
I had always loved camping, but after that night, I swore to never go into the woods again. It was supposed to be a fun weekend with my friends, but it turned into a nightmare. We set up our tents near a small lake, surrounded by tall trees. The weather was perfect, and we enjoyed swimming, fishing, and roasting marshmallows over the fire. We told each other stories and jokes, and laughed until our stomachs hurt. As the night grew darker, we decided to call it a day and get some sleep. We zipped up our tents and crawled into our sleeping bags. I was feeling tired, but also happy and relaxed. That's when I heard it. A low, guttural growl, coming from somewhere outside. It sounded like a large animal, maybe a bear or a wolf. I froze in fear, hoping it would go away. But it didn't. It came closer and closer, until I could hear its heavy breathing and footsteps. I reached for my flashlight, but it was too late. The creature tore through the fabric of my tent and lunged at me. I barely had time to scream before I felt its sharp teeth and claws digging into my flesh. I don't know how long it lasted, but it felt like an eternity. I was in excruciating pain, and I could feel my blood gushing out of my wounds. I thought I was going to die. But then, miraculously, it stopped. The creature let go of me and ran away. I don't know why it did that. Maybe it heard something, or maybe it had enough. I didn't care. I was alive, but barely. I crawled out of my tent and saw the horror around me. My friends were all dead, their bodies torn apart and scattered. The campsite was a mess of blood and gore. I was the only survivor. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. I prayed that someone would answer, and that they would come soon. I didn't know if the creature was still nearby, or if it would come back. I waited and waited and waited. I don't know how long it took, but it felt like forever. I was losing consciousness, and I knew I didn't have much time left. Finally, I heard sirens and saw lights. I felt a surge of relief and hope. Maybe I would make it, after all. But then I heard it again. The growl.
I had always wanted to go camping in the woods, but I never expected it to be like this. It was supposed to be a peaceful getaway with my girlfriend, but it turned into a nightmare. We found a nice spot near a stream and set up our tent. We had brought some food, water, and a flashlight. We thought we had everything we needed. We were wrong. As the sun set, we heard a strange noise. It sounded like a howl, but not like any animal we knew. It was loud and eerie, and it seemed to come from everywhere. We looked at each other and felt a surge of fear. We decided to stay in our tent and hope that whatever it was would leave us alone. We zipped up the entrance and cuddled together. We tried to calm each other down and to fall asleep. But we couldn't. The noise continued, getting louder and closer. We could hear something moving through the trees, breaking branches and rustling leaves. We could smell something foul, like rotten meat and wet fur. We could feel something watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike. We were terrified. We grabbed our flashlight and turned it on. We hoped that the light would scare it away, or at least let us see what it was. But we wished we hadn't. As soon as we turned on the flashlight, we saw a pair of glowing red eyes staring at us from the darkness. They belonged to a huge, hairy creature with long claws and sharp teeth. It looked like a wolf, but bigger and more monstrous. It was a werewolf. It snarled and charged at us. It ripped through the tent and pounced on us. We screamed and fought back, but it was too strong. It bit my girlfriend and tore her apart. I watched in horror as it devoured her. I was next. I tried to run, but it was too fast. It caught me and dragged me to the ground. It bit my leg and I felt a surge of pain. I kicked it and it let go. I crawled to the stream and grabbed a rock. I smashed it on its head and it fell. I got up and limped away. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I had to get out of there. I ran and ran and ran. I didn't look back or stop or rest. I just ran. I don't know how long I ran, but I eventually reached a road. I saw a car and waved for help. The driver saw me and stopped. He got out and asked me what happened. I told him everything, and he looked shocked. He said he would take me to the hospital and call the police. He said I was lucky to be alive. But I wasn't sure. As we drove, I felt a strange sensation in my body. I felt hot and sweaty and itchy. I felt my bones crack and my muscles stretch. I felt my teeth grow and my nails sharpen. I felt my hair sprout and my eyes change. I realized what was happening. I had been bitten by a werewolf, and I was becoming one. I looked at the driver and felt a fear. A fear of what I was and what I could do. I didn't want to hurt him or anyone else. I didn't want to be a monster. I told him to stop the car and let me out. He asked me why, and I said I had to go. I said I was sorry, and I thanked him. He looked confused and worried, but he did as I asked. He stopped the car, and I got out. I ran into the woods and hid. I waited for the night to come and the moon to rise. I waited for the transformation to complete and the beast to take over. I hoped that I would find a way to control it or to cure it. I hoped that I would see my girlfriend again in heaven. I hoped that I would survive.